and then so we'll talk about digital radio, and I just want to see what the quality is going to be like. So let me just share the PowerPoint again about digital radio. Where are you? There you are. So as I mentioned before, there is basically three types of digital radio: digital voice, digital computer, and digital computer packet. So today we're going to talk about digital computer, and then next week we're going to talk about digital voice. So basically, it allows operators to communicate through computers via their radio. So you're going from operator to computer to radio, then transmitting the signal, and then getting picked up by another radio, which then goes to the computer and then goes to the operator. So why would you want to do this? For two reasons. One is to improve the efficiency and reliability of communications, because it may be easier to send out digital signals than it is, for example, single sideband. And you also get better signal to noise ratios and less power. So a lot of the digital work you can do with less than 5 watts, and typically, less than 50 watts. And, it's easier to have antennas that are, lower power antennas. And in some formats, you actually can get down to zero point 0.2 watts. And because you are actually looking for a specific signal, it can pick out that signal in the noise while, you're not relying on picking up single sideband and then trying to figure out what the person is saying. So that's one of the reasons why, people are going to digital radio, especially on the HF side. Now, there's a number of various formats. Some formats are free form, where you can send sort of like any message, and then other ones are semi fixed, and then others are fixed. So, from the free form, where you can type and text, you have CW, you have RIDI, which is radio teletype, and you have PSK 31. Now, this is the fairly old technology that's been around, and your radio may actually have a RIDI built into it, like I think the ICOM 7300 does and the 705 does. You may have a CW decoder built into it. It may or may not work that well. Now, the latest thing that people are using is FT8 and FT4, and I'll be showing you a screen of that program, but it's basically a fixed format. And what the information that you're transmitting back and forth and exchanging is basically your call sign, your location, which is your grid square, your power level, and then a signal report. And this is done back and forth. FT8 is used in contests and for general communication. FT4 is used sometimes because it's a shorter transmission time, but it doesn't. It's not being used that often because it doesn't have that signal to noise ratio capability that FT8 has. Now, one of the things that people you have to be careful of is when you're using these digital radios, these digital formats, is that you're running almost at 100% duty cycle. So people tend to burn out their amplifiers or their radios because they're setting the power level too high. If you're using 100 watts on single sideband, should probably be using, definitely less than 50 watts, and ideally probably maybe, 30 or 40 watts of power if you're using these digital modes. Now, people have wanted to add a message to them, so they've come up with these other formats, which are sort of semi-fixed formats where you can actually add a short message to it. And these are things like FT8 call and FT8 alert. And then there are many other programs such as JT65 that are used in for Earth moon bounce experiments. So and there's probably about another 20 or 30 different formats like Olivier and all PSK 21 and all these other formats, and they have pros and cons for you to use them. With the program, you can actually select which format you want, but FT8 is the most common one. So this is where I want to try using the whiteboard, and then I'll go back to the presentation. So let me just switch this, and let me just share the screen again. Go here and go here. All right. So typically, we'll see how this works. You have your radio here, and typically you have your speaker and your mic and the push to talk button. Oops. Just move that down. And then over here you have your computer. And you have your speaker typically and your mic. Now when they first start when they first started out, um, they basically put the radio by the computer speaker and did it that way, and they used the Vox on your radio, which is the voice operated switch to turn on your push to talk button. So they did this, and it worked for a while. And sometimes when the other methods don't work, people switch back to this. This is actually becoming more popular now because of the smartphones. And a couple of weeks ago, I was showing an app that you can actually use on a smartphone. And then also because people are using FRS now. And, there are actually people having FRS nets. That's interesting. That work using this. So this is becoming really popular. Now, the second method is to connect a cable between the two. Now, what is usually happens is that, in the computer, you probably have, a 3.5 millimeter, and you either have one jack or two jacks. And, this is probably going to be a 4-pole. This might be a 3-pole and a 2-pole. And over on the radio here, you have a whole bunch of different options. So you have your two, depending on what radio you have 2.5 millimeter or a 3.5 millimeter jack. And then this could be a 2-pole or a 3-pole or a 4-pole. Now, once you figure actually out how all these things work, you can connect them together by cable. But then people have found out that they've blown up their computer or their radio because these things operate at different levels. So, when your mic might be 10 millivolts, your speaker might be 100 millivolts, and then some computers have a line in and out, which might be, 1,000 millivolts. And if you happen to plug the thing in the wrong way, it doesn't. You can blow up something. So then, what they've done is they've usually built some sort of interface here, and Sig Alert is one of them, and Rigbuster is another one. And they usually will sell you a cable that goes to your radio, and the cable that will fit the appropriate plugs depending on what type of radio you have, and then something that goes into your computer. Um, So usually in here you're gonna have some sort of transformer or an opto isolator for isolating the signals, and then you usually have some sort of protection circuit so that you don't blow up uh, your connections. But you still have a problem now with getting your PTT signal out. So usually what they do is somehow uh, older radios, older computers had RS-232, and now you have USB. So there's probably going to have to be some sort of connection between your radio and your USB just to make the push to talk button work. So that could be all built into the same unit, or you might have to run something differently. So, this is option three now. And and then, the other thing here is your radio might have cat control. And this is where um, you're going to want to control the band, the frequency, and different things on your radio by your computer. So this usually gets also somehow plugged into your USB. Um, and setting all this up can be a little bit complicated, especially trying to figure out what cables and everything you need to do. And then the other thing now, which is the easiest way, is USB to USB, which is probably the fourth way. So all of the newer radios are, um, you know, basically you connect the USB from the radio to the USB of the computer, and then set it up that way, and then you don't have to worry about different voltage levels and isolation, and what kind of jack you need for the speaker and the microphone. So that's the various things about interfacing, and sometimes it works very well, sometimes it doesn't work. That's why people are trying to go back to the simpler method of using, the speakers and using some sort of app on the smartphone. So there's, because it's a lot easier and you can do that in an emergency. So, there's various options here depending on what kind of computer you have and what kind of radio you have. And it can work the first time you try it, but sometimes you have to figure figgle around with the volume levels here and the microphone gain, and then you've got the volume and the microphone gain over here on your sound card. Oh, the other thing I forgot now is that there's another way of doing it. Um, let me let me just take this off here. Yeah, so I mean, so basically, what you have here is, you have your sound card here, and then you run your things into the sound card here. So what people have found is, rather than blowing up their sound card in their computer, they have gone to a different sound card that you can probably get for about $5 or so, and then plug it into your radio here. So if you blow up the sound card, you haven't blown up your computer. And then some of the other rigs will have their own sound card built in. So you and then you just connect this to the USB, and then this to your radio. And then the newer radios actually have a sound card built right into the radio, and then this you just connect over into USB. Um, so, depending on your setup, the sound card could either be in the computer, it could be in your adapter, it could be separate as a like a dongle almost, yeah, or the sound card could actually be in the radio. So there's a lot of options to connect things together. So, any questions on trying to connect your radio to your computer? Okay, we'll move on then to, let me bring up the PowerPoint again.
I suspect for newer transceivers, they have a USB interface. So
Yes,
if you hook up the USB with your computer, the computer will see that as a sound card, like an external USB sound card.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so that will make the things very easy.
Yeah, but it doesn't work all the time.
Okay, that's it.
I mean, the best thing if you're trying to get this to go to figure out what's going on is to look at some YouTube videos about it and see how people have set it up. So what I
Yeah,
want, so that so the two types of software that's available is this one called WSJT, which was developed by Joe Taylor at the University of Princeton. Uh, so he so he makes the software available. All of this software is free, and then you've also got the FL Digi, which is a little bit more of fiddling with it, but it's also very popular. And let me just bring up the software here. Let me just stop sharing this one and bring up the other screen. Um, so yeah, so this is the program WSJT, and um, so it's got these modes here. FST4, JT8, I mean FT8, FT4, JT4, JT9, JT6. So they're all different modes for different purposes. MSK 144 is designed for meteor scatter on VHF bands if you want to use that to try it out. So when you bring up the program, this is what it actually looks like. So on each one of the bands, you have a specific frequency. So we're on the 14 meter band, the 14 megahertz band, the 20 meter band, and this happens to be the frequency that they use for, I believe this is FT8, and so the computer will automatically select the right frequency and everything for you. And what you get is a waterfall, and then they split this up into a number of segments, and you can see some activity happening here. So what you would normally do is you would probably find a spot somewhere that's not occupied and set your cursor to that spot. And so what you get here now is a number of signals. So the ones that are not colored are ones that are out there, but you're not decoding. You're not picking them up. The red ones are some type of conversation is going on, and the green ones are the ones you are actually picking up. So what you get here is the time, your dB level, your difference in time. One of the things with FT8, if you're running it, is that if you're not synced within maybe a few seconds to maybe 20 or 30 seconds of the other computer, you're not going to be able to decode anything. So uh, so make sure your time is set up properly. And there's another program that you can use to sync your time. And one person recommends syncing your time every 30 seconds. Uh, Others say that Microsoft Time is good enough. Um, some people say it's too far off. So you'll have to experiment with that. But if you don't get anything coming showing up here, it could be that your time signal is off. So when you look at this, what you would do here is, well, you get your frequency, and then you also get your message. So this person here in green is calling CQ. This is his call sign, and um, this is where he's probably located. And so you have a couple of options. Um, you can go over here and you can click on one of his, um, like on a CQ signal, and then say answer CQ. So you would click this button, and it takes probably I think it's 15 or 25 seconds to go through one cycle. So it'll send out your signal, and if he picks it up, he'll send something back to you, and you'll see all of this here happening. So that's one way of doing it. And then if you make contact, you exchange signal reports, and automatically gets logged into your log. And if you wanted to hook this up to a contest logger like N1MN, then you can set that up to do it automatically. And then the other way of doing it is you pick a spot here and you just press the button calling CQ, and it'll keep on calling CQ um, a few times, and then you have to press the button again, and then anyone else out there seeing your signal can decide if they want to answer you or not. And that's how you make your QSO, by sharing that information back and forth. So you can't add anything to it. You may be able to add a few things here, like maybe a couple of words or something like that, but that's about it. So that's basically how you would do the digital FT8 communication. Let me just go back here. And of course, there's lots of documentation available on how to set it up. Um, so, you have this guide here, and it tells you what system requirements you are. You can all, this is designed for Windows or OSI or Linux. How to install it. So it gives you all the things to do to set it up. Now you have to get into the settings, and this is where it can become a little bit complicated. You start off by putting in your call sign and your grid location, and um, and then you put in your radio. So usually you can pull down a menu, and it has like 50 to 100 radios listed. You pick up the radio that you have. You're going to have to select the COM port that the radio is on, and usually all of this is set up properly for you, but it may not work completely. So you may have to fiddle a little bit with the baud rate, and then you can press test cat and test PTT to see if it works or not. And usually, when it comes to split operation, most people use fake it rather than having the rig do it. And then some of the other things is, sometimes if your radio doesn't work directly, you can use another program like FL Rig or Ham Radio Deluxe or Ham Lib or Omni Rig as a go-between this program and your radio. And sometimes it'll work better by using some of these other rigs, these other programs. So this is something you're going to have to experiment with to see if it works or not. And then once you find something that works, make sure you write down the settings so that if you do it again, You don't. I mean, if you change something or and it doesn't work, then you know what to do. And then you have to set up your audio with your sound cards. So usually, if you're connected via USB, your radio sound cards appear here, and you should just pick up your USB sound cards from your radio. Otherwise, if you're using some sort of adapter, like a rig blaster or the signal alert, then those things will show up here. And then you could set up different macros if you want to. So, you're getting in, and then if you want to report, you can log into various things. So you have a lot of options to set up here. Frequencies, which frequencies you want to use, which bands you want to use. You have a whole range of options of, setting up the colors how you want them. And then you've got some advanced settings that I don't really know what they are, but they're explained down here. You could set up whether you want a dark display or a light display. Then you have to set up your levels, and you've got a master control. So you may have to adjust some of these things. So it gives you a lot of things to, a lot of information. Um, and then how you want to set up your FT8 windows. And then FT4 again, how to set it all up. Here's another one. This is more for QSOs. You can try FST4. So, I mean, you got lots of options to try it. Um, Here you probably have an opportunity to put in some more messages with this one. I don't know what this one. Oh, this is for really a long wave, 2200 meter and 630 meter. Um, you know, Here is your typically your exchange. This person calls CQ. This person answers. This one sends a report -19. This sends a receive report 22. This sends back RRR, meaning that it's okay. And this person sends 73. And all of this is done automatically. I mean, you can set it up two ways. One is that you have to press a button each time to send each one of these, or you can just send it so that the whole contact is automatic. So as long as you make the initial contact, everything else is done automatically. And if it doesn't get a report back, it'll send out another request. Um, Here are just some more options you can do if you want to set up some field day parameters, non-standard call signs. And then, there's most of this work is done on HF, but you can also do some of it on VHF. Um, and here it tells you how to set it up for that. This is probably more for moon bounce and things like that. Microwave bands, 2.3 gig and higher. JT65 for VHF. Q65 for tropospheric scatter and ionospheric scatter and fast fading signals. So if you want to do some 50 meter work, usually 6 meter, I mean, not 50 megahertz or 6 meter band. Q65 would be the one that you use. Um, this is provided your radio has this frequency and that you have an antenna that can handle that frequency. This one is for uh, meter scatter. So you can bounce your signals off a meteor shower and see what you get back. Echo mode, I don't know what that is. Lunar echoes if you want to hear your signal coming back from the moon. So you can talk into your radio and see if your signal will bounce back and if you can hear yourself. There's about a 2.5 second delay when you talk to the moon. And then you got whisper mode, and you can have band hopping, going to different bands. And then, here is, what, if you set it up, you can receive and transmit, and you get a report of what's going on. All of it, this assumes you're also connected to the internet. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You're not connected. And then you have a whole bunch of on-screen controls that so I mean, the instructions are very well done. I would look at, if you have like a 7300, look at some YouTube videos of how, if someone explains how to set it up. Probably eight out of 10, it'll work with the settings that are, that it gives you, but sometimes it doesn't. I don't know if there's anything else. Oh, logging. If you have a logging program, especially if you're into contesting, you can set it up so it all works. Decoding, it just explains how the various decoders work. There was one other thing I can show you. Measurement, you can calibrate your frequencies. You can also hook it up to other programs. So, if you have rig control, if you're using DX Lab Suite or OmniRig or Ham Radio Deluxe, for rig control, that's explained. Some of these programs are free, others cost you about $50, and then some other ones cost you maybe a few $100. So you have to check out what you want and look at the reviews of these various programs. There is PSK Reporter. So if you're using FT8, you can actually get a map of what's going on with your signal, who's picking you up, where you're being heard, so you can get a map to see what's going on. So it's good for checking out propagation. And then you got other things here. Um, JT alert. So if you're looking for a specific station, let's say you're looking for an FT8 contact from Brazil, and, and you haven't been able to get that contact, and you need that to get your DXCC entry to get a certificate. So as soon as Brazil comes on, it could send you an alert on the phone, on your smartphone, saying that Brazil is on now. So then you go over to your radio and you make that contact. You can also hook up to M1MM logger that's used for contesting if you're into that. I think that's about it. And the other one, let me just get rid of some of these things here. Um, and then the other one, let me just bring that one up for a second. Stop share. And where is it? A second. Okay, so let me just share this screen again. Except I lost my mouse. Okay. So this is the other program. Um, you and you've got a whole bunch of different ones here. You've got FL Digi, FL Arc modem. You've got FL rig for rig control, and then you've got other different programs. So all of these are available for download and online help. And if you look at, for example, the manual here, you've got a 500-page manual, describing how to set up FL Digi. And I think here you've got more options. Here are some of the other programs that you could use. CW, Domino X, Hellscriber, Contestia, MT63, MFSK, FSQ, IKRP. These are all various digital modes: PSK, Olivia, RIDI, SOAR Micro. Got a digiscope, spectrum scope display. So here are all the different other parameters you can use to set it up. And I think some like FSK. Um, yeah, I mean, all of these are different modulations, and all of them have different advantages. So all these options are available for you to give you a try if you want to try that. So that concludes my presentation on digital computer radio. So let me just stop the recording.